Have you ever listened to a pro mix and just thought, how do they do that? It sounds so clean, so wide. It feels like they have a secret playbook that you just don't have access to. Well, you're in the right place. Today, we are unlocking that exact workflow right inside Fender Studio Pro. Let's do this.
I mean, this is the question, right? It's the one that keeps so many of us staring at our screens late at night. You know you've got great recordings, you've got amazing plugins, but that final mix, it's just missing that professional sparkle, that clarity. It's probably the most common frustration out there, so trust me, you are not alone.
So what is the big secret? I'll tell you right now, it's not some $500 magic plugin. The secret is a disciplined 4-stage system. It's a hierarchy for using the incredible tools you already have. It's all about knowing what tool to reach for and, more importantly, when to use it.
Okay, so let's build this thing from the ground up. Stage 1 is all about creating a perfectly clean slate. You gotta understand, every single great sounding mix is built on a solid, clean foundation. Now look, this isn't the flashy, fun part of mixing, but I promise you it is the most crucial. If you get this right, everything that comes after gets so much easier.
So your first move on almost every single track should be the channel strip EQ. Its only job at this stage, cleanup. We're talking high-pass filters to carve out all that low-end mud you can't even really hear, and maybe some low-pass filters to get rid of hiss and noise. Now, why is this so critical? Because all that useless, inaudible rumble will make your compressors go crazy, squeezing the life out of your mix for no reason. It robs you of punch before you've even started. Now, inside that simple-looking channel strip EQ, there's a little secret weapon. It's called proportional Q. This idea actually goes way back to the legendary API consoles from the 60s, and it's designed to be so intuitive it almost feels like it's reading your mind. It just thinks like a musician.
And here's what that actually means when you're mixing. With a normal fixed Q, the curve is always the same width. But with proportional Q, if you do a small, gentle boost, you get this wide musical curve. But if you need to do a huge, aggressive cut to notch out a problem frequency, the bandwidth automatically gets super narrow, like a surgical knife. It just adapts to what you're trying to do.
But here's the real reason the channel strip EQ is the undisputed king of cleanup. Look at that. It has a near zero impact on your computer's processor. It is so ridiculously efficient that you can, and you absolutely should, put this on every single track of a massive 100-track session and your computer won't even break a sweat. It's essential, and it's basically free resource-wise.
All right, our tracks are clean, the foundation is solid. Now we can move on to stage 2, the surgical phase. This is where we get a little more detailed. We start to address specific problems and really begin to sculpt the individual sounds so they all fit together like a puzzle.
And for this job, we need a real workhorse. And that workhorse is the Pro EQ3. This is your main, do-it-all, flagship parametric EQ. Once that basic cleanup is out of the way, this is the tool you're going to use for all the heavy lifting and the detailed sonic sculpting.
But here's where things get really, really cool. What if your EQ wasn't just the static thing you set and forget? What if it could actually listen to the music and react and adapt in real time to the performance? Well, that is the power of dynamic EQ, and it's a huge feature in Pro EQ3. Just imagine this. You've got an acoustic guitar, but there's one specific chord the player hits too hard and it gets all boomy. With dynamic EQ, you can set a band to only cut that boomy frequency when that one chord is hit. Or you can tame a harsh vocal S sound without making the rest of the vocal sound dull. It's an absolute problem solver.
Now, if you really want to level up, we can take Pro EQ3 even further with something called mid-side processing. Yeah, it looks a little technical, but by using a couple of built-in tools, we can actually split a stereo track into two parts. The mid, which is everything in the center, and the side, which is all the stereo information. This lets us EQ them totally independently, and oh man, this opens up some incredible possibilities.
So what's the big payoff for doing all that? Well, you can instantly tighten up your entire low end by filtering the bass out of just the sides, which locks your kick and bass right into the center where they belong. You can add this incredible sense of width and air by boosting the high frequencies only on the sides without making your lead vocal sound harsh. I'm telling you, this technique is one of the biggest things that separates amateur mixes from pro mixes.
So we've done our cleaning, we've done our surgery. Now it's time for the fun part. It's time to add the vibe. This is stage 3. This is where we stop thinking like surgeons with scalpels, and we start thinking like painters with big, broad brushes, adding strokes of analog color and character.
For this, we're going to turn to the Fat Channel XT. And this thing is powered by some seriously cool technology called state space modeling. Now, don't let the name intimidate you. Just think of it like this. It's not just a simple EQ curve, it's a perfect component-by-component virtual replica of a real piece of classic hardware. It captures all the little quirks and harmonics that make that vintage gear sound so amazing.
And what this gives you is a whole library of sonic flavors to work with. Each one of these models is like a different paintbrush. You need that punchy, forward, classic API sound on your drums? You grab the Alpine. You want that legendary Helios shimmer and air on your acoustic guitar? That's the Solar 69. This is where you really start to give your mix a signature sound.
You know, this quote about the vintage model really just says it all for this stage. Everything sounds better through it. Sometimes you're not even trying to fix anything with EQ. You're just running the audio through the virtual circuit to give it that special sauce, that elusive, expensive-sounding character.
And that brings us to the final hurdle, Stage 4, the master bus. Now, putting an EQ across your entire finished mix, that is a completely different ballgame. It requires an extreme amount of precision and a very specific kind of tool, because if you're not careful, you can undo all the great work you've just done.
See, to understand this stage, we gotta talk about something called phase. Basically, every standard EQ you use introduces these tiny little time shifts between frequencies when you boost or cut. On a single track, it's no big deal. But when you do that across a whole mix, all those little shifts can add up and cause what we call phase smear. It can literally soften the punch of your kick drum and make your wide stereo image feel narrower. That is where linear phase EQ saves the day. It solves this by delaying all the frequencies by the exact same amount, which keeps everything perfectly in phase.
But there's no such thing as a free lunch. This incredible transparency comes at a cost. Linear phase processing takes a ton of computer power, and it introduces a significant amount of delay or latency. This makes it totally wrong for tracking or for a creative mixing, but it makes it absolutely perfect for that final, delicate mastering stage.
And you can see just how real that trade-off is. I mean, we're not talking about a few milliseconds of delay here. At high resolution, we're talking about over 200 milliseconds of latency. Now, your software compensates for this, but it just goes to show you why this is such a specialized mastering-only tool for that final transparent polish.
So, let's put it all together. Here it is. This is the Pro workflow. 1. Clean up every single track with the super efficient channel strip EQ. 2. Shape your sounds and solve problems with the surgical power of Pro EQ 3. 3. Paint with analog color and vibe using the Fat Channel XT. And finally 4. Apply that last transparent polish on your master bus with Pro EQ 3 in linear phase mode.
And that's really the main thing to take away from all of this. It's not about which plugin is the best. It's about understanding this system, this hierarchy of what to do and when to do it. Mastering this workflow is what will truly elevate your mixes and give them that clarity, depth, and professional polish that you've been looking for.
So, there you have it. That's the map. It's a complete system built on efficiency, precision, character, and, finally, integrity. The only question left is, now that you have the map, what incredible sonic worlds are you going to build with it? Thanks so much for tuning in.